let's take a look at the ways to present values. You have, as I saw, the serial terminal. You just drag it to the serial 0. If you have, let's say you have let's say you have a mega board. The mega board has a lot of serials, very many in and out input pins and output pins, and you see it's have serial 1, 2, 3 and 0, so total number is 4. The only one that's going to be able to show a value is 0, so don't make the mistake and put it over here and think you can find it in the roll down menu over here, because you can't do it. This is always going to be the 0. I'm going to change back to the Uno, and as soon as I change back to another board, you saw it was connected to the serial whatever, and due to not having a serial 4 or whatever it was, 3, it's gonna disconnect it. So remember that if you use one project with one type of board and gonna change to another board and have many things connected, remember that if you change to a card that is totally different in some way or have fewer inputs outputs, it's gonna drop those connections. Just remember that, so you can remember or take a screenshot on what goes where. Anyway, the way to view values, that's what I was talking about. Okay, serial 0 is one way. You can use the packet. The packet component is used to gather more than one value and make it look nice, pretty much. So then I'm going to choose what type of value it is. I'm going to use an analog value, and it's got a new little thing over here. It's called element. So when you're using some components, it's going to be an extra window that you can change the properties. If I just mark the packet component over here, you're going to see in the property pane you have some things you can change. If I double click on the border or press this tool component or tool icon, it's going to open another window, and that is the same. Looks the same over here. That is the same as going into elements and pressing this icon. That is the very same thing. If I close this and open it again, voila. If you're gonna change a value within that category, that subcategory, you can either open like this, or what's easier is to just mark this window and mark the element you want to change. Then it's gonna jump straight into that subcategory or element. Okay, now I have a way to view my values. I'm gonna connect it. You can either press once and press another time, or you can just drag, keep the mouse button in and release. That's all up to you. And I'm gonna upload. And it's uploaded. Now, before I used the serial terminal to watch values in here, it doesn't work that way when you're using packet. If I connect now, it's gonna be gibberish. I'm not gonna say anything that makes sense. I'm gonna disconnect again, and now under format it says unformatted text. I'm gonna change that to packet 1. That is packet 1 over here. I'm gonna choose that one, and now we're gonna another tab, a tab called instruments. This is where everything gets presented. If I have more than one thing over here, it's gonna be another another gauge, or if I chosen another way to visualize it, it could be, let's see, you can use a thermometer, you can use segmented gauge, you can use linear gauge. It's more than one way to choose to present it. Now if I connect, it's gonna show the value change in here. That is very useful, especially when you name things properly. Let's say I'm gonna have 10 different gauges. It's gonna be hard to keep track of what one is analog 1 or which one is analog 2. So if you name it, just double click the window or click on the icon, press analog 1 and press it again. You can name it, or you just right click it and choose, you can mark it, right click. You can't do that either. We can mark it, and over here we can type speed, for example. Now it says speed down here. If you have 10 of them, just name them to whatever it is, what it's symbolizing, and you're gonna keep track of what values goes where. This is another way. The first way was serial 0, just to look at it plain text. This second one is a packet. And the third one, that can be used to more than just take a look at it. Let's see. We have the component called formatted text. Drag it out. And as you saw on the other one, you have an icon. You can either press that one, double click the window, or mark it and go into the elements. Let's see. First I mark it. You have this red icon. There is no dots over to the right, but as soon as you mark it, you got these dots. That's the same way as double clicking the window or just clicking the icon for the tools. Now we can add type of input. I'm going to use analog element. You can either double click or drag and drop. You can rearrange the order just by clicking the arrow up or down. You can name whatever you like over here and keep track of what the value is coming from, for example. Now we have a thing that some people don't see the potential of this component. If you just input it over here and take the text to the serial terminal and upload it, it's gonna show the value of this one, but you might not need to know what value it is, what it's symbolizing, where it comes from, if you don't present with a name. First off, you can change your name over here, but you can also mark the component, and in the text window you can open this up and you can write whatever text you like. So you can type the speed is, and colon doesn't do anything more than just show a colon. You can remove that as well. And then if you type percentage and 0, this is the place is gonna input that value. So it's not gonna say 0 or %0, it's gonna say whatever number this analog signal outputs. If you don't do anything, just press OK and upload. And the value is gonna be shown not in the package, it's just gonna be in the regular unformatted text. Connect. Nothing shows in the scope, it's all gonna show in the terminal. Here you got the name. I'm just gonna stop this one. You got the name that corresponds to the analog element 1, that's the same, and the value that got there. But the other cool part with this component is what I just showed you. The speed is 0. And you can take, let's say, some new rows, new line. I'm gonna upload this, and it's uploaded. Remember, this is the name that shows and the value after that. But now if I connect, it's gonna look a bit different. You're gonna see, okay, it's gonna scroll in an ugly way. But now it presents the way I just typed. The speed is colon space, and this is the percentage 0. Why is this so good? Let's say you make a home page. You might want to make HTTP text like a regular home page that you did in the old days. Then you might want to change the value on the fly. So every time you're going to reload the page, you're going to show new values. If you do have an HTTP text, let's see if I can find something. So let's say you have an HTTP text like this. This is my home page. And the temperature is 0. So this is a valid this is a valid HTTP text. So I'm just gonna remove that as well. So if you just type the value, the actual temperature outdoor, it might be 12 degrees Celsius, for example. Okay. If you just type 0, it's gonna be taking the whatever value you input over here, and it's gonna put out on the text on the home page. That's the cool part with the formatted text. All right. Those are the 3 best ways, I think, to view some values that you're working with. What's the good and the negative part with this? Well, it's beautiful with the packet component. Like this. And it's very straightforward and easy just to use the serial, just a serial input. The negative part with using just serial input is when you have a lot of components. If you have many connections to the serial 0, let's say analog value, I'm going to drag that one out and take a copy of that and paste it and paste it. The negative thing now is that you're not gonna know what value it comes from. So if I have value 1 over here, value 1.2 over here, 0.5, 3, whatever, it's gonna show up in whatever order the value is gonna be sending. So either it's gonna start up from the beginning of the software and you boot up the Arduino, it's gonna send as soon as possible, or you're gonna decide when to show it. Then you use a clock. But the order of its coming is going to depend on the clock, and you're not going to see anything in the serial terminal over here that says what value comes from what component. like it did over here just a few minutes ago. It's just gonna say 0 or 5 or 3.2 or whatever. So that's the negative part. As soon as you're using multiple sources and putting this to serial terminal, you might have a hard time figuring out what value it comes from. That's where formatted text is good. The negative part with the formatted text is the lack of input values. You can have these 5. You cannot have color, you cannot have let's see, there are some different integer values like 16-bit values and 8 bits and so on. You cannot use it over here. So if you take a look at the, sorry, this is the wrong component, packet. If you take a look at this one, you're gonna see it's more. You can choose a lot of different values. You have unsigned 8, unsigned 16 and stuff like that. Don't bother figuring this part out yet. It's gonna be on the later level. But you have color and you have RGB white color, date, binary block, and so on. That's the good part with the packet component. There are not many drawbacks with packet, I think. It's quite good in many ways, but you cannot, as you saw in the formatted text, you cannot present it in other way than just naming it. So you can give it a name over here. Let's, like speed. But you cannot name it in a sentence. Like if you use the formatted text, over here, you can describe whatever it is. This is my try to convert a value from time to, let's say, time to analog value on the gauge outside my kitchen. You can't make that text in packet component, but you can do it over here. So that's the good part. And that's about it. That's the way to troubleshoot. That's the way to handle the information, whatever happens from one component to another. So let's say you have map range, and you have analog multiply, okay, if I just upload this now, and test what comes out from this map range component, then it's probably not going to be a good value. It's not going to be whatever I thought it's going to be, because the map range is 0 to 1 input and 0 to 1 output. Okay, I might think that it's going to be outputting maximum number 1, but that's not going to be the case. So it's uploaded. I'm going to take a look at the value, and it's going up to 3. Why is that? Then I'm gonna troubleshoot. Okay, I don't know why it's gonna be up with this, but this time it's only 3 components. It might be 30. Okay, so what I can do right now, that's the good part with the formatted text. I'm gonna take 3 analog element, out generator, out multiply, out map range. Okay, I'm gonna drag a new connection from here, out from the generator. I'm gonna drag one from the multiple value, and the map range down over here. And I'm gonna drag it to the serial terminal 0 and upload. And it's uploaded. Now I'm gonna take a look at it. So, oh, sorry, I forgot to remove this text. Gonna upload it again. Alright, I'll take a look at the values. And now it's producing some different results. Okay, out from the generator we're gonna have 0.948 value, and it's gonna multiply that with 3, so it's gonna be 2.844, and out from the map range is 2844 as well. So we know it's not gonna change over here at all. Okay, then I know what value is produced out of which component. This is a very useful way to debugging or troubleshooting, and you can take change a value on a specific component or add another component to adjust some value or whatever. That is the absolute best way to troubleshoot, I think. And as you saw, it's all output in the same row. If you'd like to have it beneath each other, you can just make the text over here as well. Out from generator 0, sorry, %0, and out from multiply %1. That's the second. The first element is going to be called 0, and the second one is going to call 1, and the third one is going to call second, and so on. Or number 2, out from map range %2. Right, I'm going to connect. And now the value is going to be produced another way. It's going to be the exact way that I typed. It's going to be from input 1, that's %0, and that's the next one, and the third one. Alright. So now you see a different way to produce the output that's going to be very useful when troubleshooting and so on. Alright, enough about that. How about the hardware itself? Why am I putting this into a input? It's not an input, it's an output, isn't it? Or the little bit weird part, if you have done some coding in Arduino IDE, you're gonna think this is a backward way to use the software. The inputs over here is not related or have anything to do with the input on the hardware. It's the other way around. Think of Arduino Uno, this board, so to say. It's not the actual board. It's a process, if you like. Let's say if you want to process a value to output to a hardware, you put this into the process. And then what happens with the hardware has nothing to do with this layout. So if I'd like to, let's say I want to make a LED go bright and dark. I'm going to take a look at here. 13 is a LED. It says LED over here. And that was, oh, sorry, no analog. Let's say digital, the pulse. I'm just going to turn it on and off. And 13 over here. So what's going to happen? Well, I'm going to put a value from one specific component. It's going to turn high and low every second. The frequency is 1 Hertz. That's 1 time per second. And it's going to be put into this process, and the process is going to make sure the value comes to the output from the hardware. So, well, you might need to make a useful way to think about this. My way to think about it is just throw in the value to the mix, and the mix is going to connect to the hardware and do whatever it like. If you're going to extract a value from a card, let's say you have a button or a potentiometer or whatever you have. I'm going to have a button. I have a button on let's say pin 10. Okay, I'm going to extract the value from the hardware, from the flow to my component. So it's going to be an output from the flow or from the process into my button. The name button over here is just a debounce. Debounce is pretty much accidental, to avoid accidental on-off on the push. You don't have to have a button component. You can just drag it from the output to whatever you like. Alright, like so. So that is the output and the input on the board. If you have another board, it's going to be correspond to the matching inputs and outputs. It's going to change up. It's going to look different. Just change to the whatever board you have. I always, or most time, I just use Wimus, sorry. I like this board. It doesn't have many outputs, inputs, but it has Wi-Fi. I like that. In the next part, we're going to talk about properties, the best practice regarding inputs and outputs, and why you should work with multi-source components. A little about clocks as well.